They say the forest has rules, not laws, not written codes, but deeper rules. Older than language, older than memory. And in one place, deep in the hills of Connecticut, those rules were broken. A town was built where it wasn't supposed to be. Not just on cursed land, on land that curses back. The town was called Dudleytown. It's not on any modern map. Never had a post office. Never had a church. Never even had a proper graveyard. But for a time, it was real. It existed. It breathed. And then it vanished. But something remains. Not the buildings. Not the people. The hunger. The story of Dudleytown isn't just about ghosts or curses. It's about a place that unravels people. Slowly, patiently, completely. And it begins in another country. In the year 1510, in England, a man named Edmund Dudley was executed for treason. He'd been one of the most powerful political figures in the court of King Henry VII. But power changes hands fast. And when the king died, Edmund's enemies came for him. He was tried, convicted, beheaded. That much is history. What isn't certain is what happened in the moments before the axe fell. Some say he cursed the king. Others say he cursed England itself. But one version, the version that haunts the stories of Dudleytown, says he cursed something else entirely. His own bloodline. Let the name Dudley carry madness and ruin. What followed generation after generation was a long trail of scandal, collapse, and insanity. Several Dudleys were imprisoned. One died raving in a cell. Another stabbed himself through the ear. By the 1700s, the family had splintered. One branch, desperate for a new start, left for the New World. Among them was Gideon Dudley, who arrived in Connecticut and purchased land in the Northwest Hills. The area was untouched forest, rugged, remote, and quiet. Too quiet. The land had never been settled. Not by Europeans, not by native tribes. Despite fertile valleys nearby, the exact patch Gideon chose had remained empty. Or so it seemed. Old native stories, passed down and almost lost, speak of a place the animals avoid, where the trees whisper the names of the dead, where the wind walks in circles, where the roots drink voices. But the Dudleys didn't know that, or didn't listen. Gideon built a home, cleared trees, dug a well, and over the next few years others joined him. The Hollisters, the Tanners, the Joneses. They built cabins, crude roads, even tried planting wheat and corn. But nothing grew right. The soil was dry, packed with stone. Fruit trees rotted. Livestock miscarried. Chickens laid bloodied eggs. From the start, Dudleytown resisted life. Even the air felt different. Dense, still, heavy. And there were no birds. Not even crows. By 1750, the settlement had around 30 residents. Not much. But enough to be called a town. No official name, but nearby villages called it Dudleytown. The name stuck. So did the fear. Small things at first. Milk curdled overnight, even in cold weather. Fresh bread molded the same day it was baked. Wounds wouldn't clot. Doors blew open even when barred. Windows frosted from the inside in summer. The forest didn't feel like wilderness. It felt aware. The first tragedy was a disappearance. A child named Nathaniel Hollister, 5 years old, was walking home from the well with his sister. She looked away for just a moment. She was gone. No scream, no tracks. Just a single small shoe left on the path. Later that week, her mother was found in the woods behind their home. Her arms outstretched, palms up, eyes wide open and black with dried blood. No wound, no explanation. She was never buried. The town was afraid to dig, and that fear grew. Animals began acting strangely. A farmer's horse was found standing completely still in its stall for 3 days. It refused to eat, drink, or blink. On the 4th day, it collapsed and died with no visible injury. Its heart was later discovered to have twisted in place. Then came the dreams. Multiple townspeople claimed to dream of a figure in the woods. Tall, mouthless, standing still between trees. Some said it whispered anyway. Some said it followed them home. And some said it was always smiling, even without a face. One woman, Margaret Tanner, refused to sleep for 12 days. She died on the 13th, but not from exhaustion. She'd gouged out her own eyes and carved a circle into her chest. Inside that circle, a symbol that no one recognized. The town was never religious, but after that they built a small wooden cross and mounted it to the highest tree. It was gone the next morning. They rebuilt it, again and again. Each time it vanished by sunrise. Someone tried nailing it into the bark. The next day, the tree was gone. Uprooted. No stump. Eventually, the settlers stopped trying. Mail service ended. Visitors stopped coming. People outside Dudleytown started calling it the Hollow Town. Those who stayed inside no longer cared what others thought. They'd begun to forget the outside world entirely. One man, Abiel Dudley, a descendant of Gideon, began speaking of things beneath the ground, not worms, not roots. Things that moved when you weren't looking. Things that breathed. He claimed the hills were hollow, filled with stone lungs. He dug for days behind his cabin, never finding anything. Neighbors said he was mumbling constantly, eyes sunken, face pale. Eventually, his wife reported him missing. They found him in a pit he'd dug, standing waist-deep in mud, smiling, whispering the word, "Listen." When they pulled him out, his legs were rotted. The skin came off like paper. He lived for 3 more weeks in the upstairs room of the Tanner house. Every night he scratched the same shape into the wood floor, a spiral made of teeth. When he died, the room was sealed and never reopened. His wife burned his journal, but not before showing a few pages to the town's last traveling pastor. The man left that night and was never seen again. Dudleytown collapsed slowly, not in fire, not in battle, but in silence. The town didn't die, it dissolved. Homes were abandoned, sometimes in the middle of meals. Chairs tipped over, soup still warm. One house was found completely empty, except for 23 shoes, neatly arranged in a circle, all pointing inward. By 1880, the last 2 families packed their things, or tried to. The Jones family made it to the edge of the forest, but their wagon never arrived in the next town. Only the horse did, covered in symbols carved into its hide. The Tanners, 3 in total, left at night. They were never seen again. But weeks later, a woman's dress, matching Mrs. Tanner's, was found nailed to a tree dot, no blood. Just the dress. And dozens of small bite marks, far too small to be human. By the turn of the century, Dudleytown was gone. The forest moved in, as if it had just been waiting. Cabins collapsed. Wells filled, trees regrew in perfect circles. You can still find remnants if you know where to look. Stone foundations, cellar holes, rotten beams gnawed through with tiny, sharp grooves. The kind no animal should make. The air there is colder, even in summer, and quiet. So quiet that your own heartbeat feels too loud, like it's announcing you to something just out of sight. In 1906, a New York physician named Dr. William Clark purchased land near the ruins. He was wealthy, rational, a skeptic. He wanted a peaceful retreat for him and his wife. They arrived in June, built a beautiful home just over the ridge. By July, his wife was gone. She returned to New York and was found dead in their apartment. The cause was ruled suicide, but the body showed signs of extreme dehydration, as if she hadn't had water in days, and her hands were covered in dirt. Clark never spoke of it again. He left the house unfinished. Years later, in a private letter, he wrote, "There are places that speak, and there are places that scream. This place listens. It remembers what we bury." After Dr. Clark left, no one tried to build in or near Dudleytown again. The land passed between owners, but none stayed long. Some never even visited. Eventually, a private trust acquired the property, fenced it, and posted guards. They said it was to preserve the forest, to stop trespassers. But people who lived nearby knew the real reason. Because the stories didn't stop. Hikers, experienced ones, went missing. A drone pilot captured footage of strange symbols carved into tree bark near the site. They looked like runes, but mirrored, curved, wrong. His drone lost signal mid-air. When it crashed, its last frame showed something in the treetops. A shape, human in outline, but too tall, and its face was all mouth. The footage was wiped from his SD card. He posted about it online. The post was deleted within hours. When asked about it in an interview, he simply said, "I shouldn't have let it see me." In 1989, a pair of researchers from a Boston paranormal group attempted a week-long stay near the ruins. Only one came back. She refused to talk about it. For months. Then, in an audio journal she kept privately, she said this: "We never heard anything. Not at first. But the trees changed. You don't notice it. It's subtle. The same branches look different. The path seems longer at night than in the day. And something is always in your peripheral vision. Not close, not moving, just waiting." She later burned all her notes and left the group. Her partner was never found. By the 2000s, Dudleytown had become legend. The kind of place you heard about on late-night radio. Cursed towns, vanishing settlers, madness in the woods. But unlike most ghost stories, this one had records. Land deeds, death certificates, psychiatric admissions. The people were real. The madness was documented. And in 2022, something happened that made it feel real again. A hiking group exploring far northeast of the known Dudleytown site stumbled onto old ruins. Not unusual in New England. But the layout was identical to archived maps of the original town. A burned well, 3 cellar holes in a triangle. A collapsed cabin wall with claw marks on the inside dot. They didn't know what they'd found. They posted photos online. Within 48 hours, the post was flooded with comments. That's Dudleytown. But it's supposed to be in Cornwall. Why is it there too? The photos were removed by the platform. The account that posted them? Deleted. But not before someone noticed something strange in one of the images. In the far background, between two trees, a figure, half in shadow, too tall, no face, just teeth. So what does it all mean? Some believe the original town opened something, not just a doorway, a wound, that whatever is in those woods now isn't tied to one location anymore. That Dudleytown is spreading. Not like a town, but like an infection. Not in land, but in mind. Every time someone speaks its name, reads its history, thinks about what might be waiting there, it grows, the spiral widens, the roots stretch farther. Maybe it's not a place you walk to anymore. Maybe it's a place that waits inside you. And when you've heard enough, when you've imagined it too clearly, that's when it knows where to find you. So here's the final warning. If you ever dream of roads that loop, trees that breathe, or figures that whisper from just behind the veil of sleep, if your electronics die when you approach a certain part of the woods, if a place looks too familiar, even though you've never been there, don't keep walking. Don't follow the sound. And whatever you do, don't say its name. Because some places don't want to be found. They want to be remembered. And every time you do, they grow, they evolve, they listen, they wait. And Dudleytown? Dudleytown doesn't sleep anymore.